Hello everyone, my name is Kathleen and thank you for watching Pray Like a Girl. Today we're going to talk about love, something I am very qualified to talk about, basically Dr. Phil. I know that's why you watch this channel, for all of my love advice. Yeah, I know Cameron should be doing this video. No, but today we're going to talk about a common Catholic question. Can or should I date someone that is not Catholic? Should I date someone with a different religion than me, or without a religion at all? To give you the long and short of it, the answer is yes. Yes, you may date and marry someone who is not Catholic. Absolutely, totally fine. Catechism number 1613 tells us very clearly you can definitely marry someone who is not Catholic, who's not baptized. But the question that I think most of us are really here for is, should I? And there's a lot of things that you're allowed to do in the church that is not technically a sin. Whoa, excuse me. Is it the most prudent thing to do? There are a couple of conditions that go with it. So the first of the conditions is you need to get married in the church or get explicit permission from your bishop to get married in a different rite other than the Catholic Church. You need to promise to raise your children as best of your ability in the Catholic faith. That's any Catholic parent is expected to do this when they're marrying a Catholic or not a Catholic. The second thing is the Catholic half of the couple needs to promise to continue to live their faith and not allow their non-Catholic partner to stop them from doing that. And in a committed, loving relationship, this shouldn't be a problem. In fact, hopefully, the non-Catholic will support the Catholic in living out their faith journey, especially if that's something that's important to them, which I really hope it is. And then the third thing is respect your spouse. Now, this seems pretty straightforward and hopefully a no-brainer in a marriage, but that also means respect your spouse where they are spiritually. Your spouse may never become Catholic, and that's totally okay. I know Cameron talked about this, I think back one of our first videos in Catholic lingo, but this term flirt to convert, not okay. You should never date or marry someone with the intention of making them Catholic, or any religion, actually. You should never date someone with the intention of turning them into something else. You need to respect them and love them where they are. Now, that doesn't mean not holding them to higher standards and holding them accountable. There has to be that kind of tough love in a relationship, absolutely. But if you, a Catholic, are deciding to date or marry a Protestant, you cannot say, I will marry you on the condition you become Catholic. You can't say that verbally, and you can't say that in your mind. Say, 10 years from now, we're done if you're not Catholic. It doesn't work that way. You have to love and respect them and their opinions where they are. As long as they're allowing you to live your faith, they don't have to live it with you. Once these conditions are met, you're definitely welcome to date or marry someone who is of a different religion than you. Then we come to the part of the question is, should you do that? Should you date someone? Should you marry someone that's not Catholic? If you really truly are a practicing, active, involved in your faith Catholic. I firmly believe that yes, you can date and you can marry someone who is of a different religion than you and still be a vibrantly strong Catholic and hopefully a saint. We have to look at the goal of marriage in the church for the sanctification of the spouses and the good of the couple, and also children. The next step that I approach is, what is our highest good we can achieve as a Catholic, as a Christian person? Is heaven, right? So if half of the goal of marriage is the good of the spouses, then the best good you can bestow on your spouse and on yourself is heaven, right? Where God can just bestow on you. I guess you can't bestow heaven on anyone. If your spouse doesn't share the same goal as you, if your spouse doesn't believe in heaven, then that can be kind of difficult to express and actively live that goal. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but you have to acknowledge that it's going to be more difficult to strive for that goal of heaven if your spouse isn't there with you. And so if you're a Catholic married to a Catholic, the man and the woman are both rooting for each other and praying for each other and working for each other to go up towards heaven together. In a Catholic, non-Catholic couple, the Catholic hopefully is praying for, rooting for, working for themselves and their spouse to get to heaven, but the non-Catholic party isn't really focused on that goal necessarily because they might not believe in heaven. So they're not reciprocating that desire for the good of heaven. Yes, they absolutely will want the good of their spouse, and that's a good thing. But they might not understand that the best good of their spouse is heaven. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but you have to be able to express to your spouse that your number one goal for yourself is heaven, and your number one goal for them is heaven as well. And they need to be okay with that. Also, this doesn't mean they have to necessarily believe in heaven to want you to go to heaven. Someone might not believe in heaven, but see how much you believe in it and still root for you to go there and still want you to be able to live in eternal life, even if they don't totally believe it or understand it. So you have to look at yourself and see if your relationships are pulling you closer to God. And if they are, whether that relationship, that person is Catholic or not, they can still bring you sanctification. They still can bring you holiness if they're holding you to a higher standard. I'm not going to sacrifice my faith for someone else. My parish priest growing up, Father Wooten, told my brothers when they were talking about dating and relationships, date whoever you want, marry whoever you want, but remember, when it comes to religion and faith, you have the better half. The Catholic Church has the fullness of the truth. No other religion on this planet has that. A lot of them are good and beautiful and point people towards holiness and towards God. That's wonderful. But no other religion was instituted by Christ, has been around for over 2,000 years, and really truly understands the fullness of the truth that God has given us. So if you have this, the best thing that is possible to have on earth, don't give that up. Don't settle. Don't give that away for someone else, no matter how wonderful that person is. Now, that person doesn't necessarily have to agree with you, but they have to respect your understanding of the church. Another factor that I consider when approaching dating is how much I need to be comfortable in my own home. If I'm going to be sharing all of myself with someone, I need to be able to be totally comfortable. And part of that for me is knowing that that person has my back in everything. And part of that, I think, is knowing they have my back in my faith as well. And really, I can go home and have discussions that I have that are difficult about faith. That I can say, I'm struggling with this. Someone that will pray with me, someone that will go to mass with me, someone that will tell me, you haven't been to confession in a couple months, it's really time for you to go. I want him to want me more than anything to be a saint. If your spouse isn't Catholic, they can push you 100%. They can hold you accountable. But there's a certain level that they can't cross if they don't have a relationship with God. Another thing to think about when dating and marrying a non-Catholic is about raising your children. Like I said, one of the conditions of marrying a non-Catholic is the willingness to raise your child in the faith. I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people that were raised by two Catholic parents that are not Catholic now. Because it's really hard. Especially as a teenager, you want to rebel against everything. And so if it's just your mom or just your dad that's being the spiritual head of the household, it's going to be a lot harder to raise your children in the faith. Now, I have seen also people who are not Catholic raise their children as Catholics because they love their spouse so much. A non-Catholic spouse does not need to promise to raise the kids in the faith. They just need to allow the Catholic to do so. But it's so beautiful when a non-Catholic spouse can step up and fulfill that desire of their spouse, of their Catholic spouse, and raise their children together in accordance to this faith that their spouse believes in. Basically, yes, you can date and marry someone who's not Catholic. God works in a million different ways, and sometimes your non-Catholic spouse may be the one that gets you to heaven. Together, you might be able to raise saints, even if you're both not Catholic. That's perfectly plausible. So don't let someone's faith on the surface deter you from dating them or from marrying them. But also, more importantly, don't let someone else's faith or beliefs stop you from living yours. Trust in God. Pray for me. I'm praying for you. And we will see you next Friday.